All right, this is Jeffrey Sisk. Want to welcome you to the Zoo Podcast. It's an honor to be with you tonight. We're going to talk about some serious things tonight. There's a lot going on in our country. We definitely need to be paying attention to what's happening. And I think we'll start, going back into last week, unless you've been living with your head in the sand. We had, for the very first time, a court in New York last Thursday convicted a former president of the United States, 34 counts, what they call felonies. We know this was a sham. And I'll tell you what, as we've gone forward in time from that moment over the weekend, we've had a lot of other things that are going on. The other big thing that happened after that is on Friday, a day later, they're trying to shutter the doors on InfoWars, which is Alex Jones. And so we're going to get into that a little bit and talk about it. And also today reported widely across Twitter, that people are, having videos, they're having trouble uploading videos. They're not able to get things, uploaded. And I can show you this even on my Twitter. I'm going to show you something really interesting. People are having tweets disappear. And let's just go to a web browser here. I just pulled me up. If I scroll down, I've had a Twitter account since 2009. And if I go to the bottom, I've only got maybe 10 tweets. And if you look here, the last tweet on my profile was on April 2nd of this year, where I posted a link to a show for a friend of mine named Darren Conrad's doing Get on the Ark. But there is something terribly wrong going on here. I don't know what it is. And I don't know that, I don't think we've had any kind of official announcement yet from Twitter. But this should disturb everybody that we have something like this going on. So, we're going to cover all of this, but I tell you what, I have a gut feeling, there's 140, 150 days till this next election. And it almost feels like to me, folks, that these guys, these communist socialists that are in power, and make no mistake, that's who they are, that they are going to clamp down. They're going to try and clamp down on your free speech in that time period. I think they're very worried about Donald Trump having such overwhelming support that it could overcome, even any sort of election fraud or things that they might try. So I think it's a legitimate worry. So anyway, let's get into this a little bit. President Trump, he gets convicted in this sham trial, and he came out and he made a statement. I think he talked about 30 minutes, but I did pull just a couple of clips of things that I deemed important. So let's give it a listen.
Very much, everybody. This is a case where if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. These are bad people. These are, in many cases, I believe, sick people. When you look at our country, what's happening where millions and millions of people are flowing in from all parts of the world, not just South America, from Africa, from Asia, from the Middle East, and they're coming in from jails and prisons, and they're coming in from mental institutions and insane asylums. They're coming in from all over the world into our country. And we have a president and a group of fascists that don't want to do anything about it, because they could right now, today, he could stop it. But he's not. They're destroying our country. Our country is in very bad shape. And they're very much against me saying these things. They want to raise your taxes by 4 times. They want to stop you from having cars with their ridiculous mandates that make it impossible for you to get a car or afford a car, but make it very possible for China to build all of our cars. It's a very serious problem that we have. We just went through one of many experiences where we had a conflicted judge, highly conflicted. There's never been a more conflicted judge. Now, I'm under a gag order, which nobody's ever been under. No presidential candidate's ever been under a gag order before. I'm under a gag order, nasty gag order, where I've had to pay thousands of dollars in penalties and fines and was threatened with jail. Think of it. I'm the leading candidate. I'm leading Biden by a lot, and I'm leading the Republicans to the point where that's over. So I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order by a man that can't put 2 sentences together, given by a court. And they are in total conjunction with the White House and the DOJ, just so you understand. This is all done by Biden and his people. Maybe his people more importantly. I don't know if Biden knows too much about it, because I don't know if he knows about anything. But he's nevertheless the president, so we have to use his name. And this is done by Washington, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. So we have a judge who's highly conflicted. You know what the confliction is. Nobody wants to write about it, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. If I do, he said, I get put in jail. So we'll play that game a little bit longer. We won't talk about it, but you're allowed to talk about it. I hope you do, because there's never been anybody so conflicted as this. But I'm out there, and I don't mind being out there because I'm doing something for this country, and I'm doing something for our Constitution. It's very important, far beyond me. And this can't be allowed to happen to other presidents. It should never be allowed to happen in the future. But this is far beyond me. This is bigger than Trump. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than my presidency. We're living in a fascist state. It's a very sad thing that's happening in our country. And it's a thing that I'm honored. In a way, I'm honored. It's not that it's pleasant. It's very bad for family. It's very bad for friends and businesses. But I'm honored to be involved in it because somebody has to do it. And I might as well keep going and be the one. But I'm very honored to be involved because we're fighting for our Constitution. But we're going to make America great again. We're going to make it better than ever before. November 5th, remember, November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right. So, that was President Trump's take on it. And I think I found one thing really interesting about that is he used the word fascism, that we're living under fascism. I know a lot of people don't know what that means. We had a clip the next morning from Glenn Beck, and they were talking about what that really means. And I'm just going to play the clip instead of me explaining it. It's a real short clip, but it's exactly what is going on here right now in America.
He not only called Biden stupid and the worst president we've ever had, he referred to the president and those who are in the administration as fascists, which I thought was really strong language and appropriate, but shocking to hear.
It'll be shocking for many people on the left that don't even know the definition of that word, that have been throwing it around willy-nilly.
Yeah.
To hear that about themselves.
Yeah.
I hope there's a little bit of self-reflection.
Yeah, there won't be.
There won't be.
But the definition of a fascist is an authoritarian state that partners with corporations and the media to control. And that's exactly what we're doing. It's exactly what Biden is doing. He is technically 100% accurate on his labeling of this administration fascistic.
Yeah, so definitely that's what's going on. We've seen a collusion with big government, with media. We had the big court case in Michigan this last year where a lot of information came out. Some of this was released by Elon Musk after he bought Twitter. What's typically called the Twitter files, where it came out that, our federal agencies were demanding, they had set up a censorship regime with all of social media, all the media, and they've been censoring around topics like the 2020 election, vaccinations, the origins of COVID. And, the American public out here, we know this stuff is not right. We know it's not true. But anyway, it is fascism. And that should be a big warning shot. I've got a clip or two coming up from General Flynn over the last couple of days. And I tell you what, folks, the mission of this show, the Zoo podcast, it was almost to me like a download from God telling me that we need to wake up 100 million sheep. And, we're building something called the Sheep TV, and that's what it's about. And this show, the Zoo podcast, is part of that. There's 3 other shows that are also part of that, because we got to wake this country up, folks. We are in some real trouble. And Joe Biden had stepped out to make a statement to the press right after this happened. And I don't know how many of you saw this clip, but I'm going to show it to you. His reaction when he was asked whether or not the White House had anything to do with the court case in New York. Here we go.
Mr. President, can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump refers to himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir? Do you think the conviction will have an impact on the campaign?
Yeah, and we're talking about just a terribly evil smile. I did a screenshot. I know it's blurry. I don't usually show anything blurry, but it's a little screenshot from the video zoomed in. I'm going to play that one more time because it's just so heinous.
Mr. President, can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump refers to himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir? Do you think the conviction will have an impact on the campaign?
Yeah, and these guys have so much hubris. That's why he would do that. He, in his mind, thinks nobody could do anything about it anyway. And he's proud of what happened. Because the only thing that they can do against Donald Trump, because nothing's worked, all the, the Russia hoax, the impeachments, indicting him, his poll numbers have continued to go up. And, this is what they're worried about. So they feel like they won a really important battle here. Several people, like General Flynn said over the weekend, they would not be surprised to see them put him in jail on the 11th of July, at this sentencing hearing. As a matter of fact, there is a interesting clip from Tucker Carlson, talking about that, are we careening towards, assassination? So let's give that a listen.
What do you think the future holds? Is it,
I don't know.
I mean, are they going to let Trump be president?
Of course. I mean, look, if, they protested him, they called him names. He won anyway. They impeached him twice on ridiculous pretenses. They fabricated a lot about what happened on January 6th in order to impeach him again. It didn't work. He came back. Then they indicted him. It didn't work. He became more popular. Then they indicted him 3 more times. And every single time his popularity rose. So if you begin with criticism, then you go to protest, then you go to impeachment, now you go to indictment, and none of them work, what's next? I mean, graph it out, man. We're speeding toward assassination, obviously, and no one will say that, but I don't know how you can reach that conclusion. You know what I mean? Like, they have decided, permanent Washington, both parties have decided that there's something about Trump that's so threatening to them, they just can't have him. I mean, they're putting him on trial in March of next year in the J6 case, which basically consists of trying to send him to prison for the rest of his life for complaining about the last election. That's literally what it is. Again, if this were happening in Moldova, the State Department would issue an all-hands-on-deck order to let the world know this is not a legitimate government, and yet our government is doing it. It's like it's really, it's hard to overstate how bad this is. And I'm not. I don't know where it's going, but there's a collision that's clearly imminent. And by the way, the president is senile in a way that's impossible to deny. Biden's not running the government, so like, I don't know. I've never been this worried about anything as I am about where this is going.
Yeah, and I think the important thing about Tucker, Tucker's kind of plugged into, a lot of people in key places. So, for him to be worried about that, I know he's had conversations with key people that would lead him to have this judgment. Just like the other day, he came out in an interview. There was a 3-hour interview with Joe Rogan that was brilliant. And that members of Congress are being blackmailed. This is why they're voting the way they're voting. My thing is, if you put yourself in that position and you are absolutely, harming your country, you need to step down. Somebody pointed out to me, maybe part of the blackmail is you can't step down. If you do that, we'll wreck your life, or, they're threatening their families or whatever. So who really knows? All right. So the next thing, big that happens, Trump gets indicted, which is just a sham. We know what that's all about. And then we get to Friday. And just to give you a little bit of the backstory, if you don't know, Alex Jones, InfoWars, they've done a good job out there, tarnishing him to half the country that he's a crazy lunatic. But I'll tell you what, about a year and a half ago, maybe a year and 3 months ago, Tucker Carlson recommended that people needed to read Alex Jones's book that he had put out called The Great Reset. I'm one of the people that grabbed the book. I was surprised that he recommended it. And it was a brilliantly done book. And it's written like a scientific paper or a term paper or a thesis. It is well cited. Alex Jones brought the receipts, all the sources for everything that was in the book, the things that have been said by, people at the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, all the plans they have. And he has been talking about this for, 20 something years. And, before they took him out and got him off of all social media here, right after the Parler, when Parler went down, right after January 6th, and 10,000 conservatives got booted off social media, they booted Alex Jones off, and they pretty much erased him. But when that happened, he had an audience of like 30 million people. And Steve Bannon, in a clip that I'm going to play here in a minute, was talking about that's part of the reason that Trump got elected in 2016 was because of the reach of InfoWars. So, we get to last Friday, and what happened is over a video or something Alex Jones said years ago about the Sandy Hook massacre. He was put in court, and a court awarded $1 billion judgment. This is part of the lawfare that they just did against Donald Trump. That's the highest award that's ever been awarded on anything in history, $1 billion to Alex Jones. And so he had to file bankruptcy. Well, the CRO, the guy that's in charge of managing, making sure, the creditors are looked after and, InfoWars keeps running and all that. He ordered the security company to lock all the doors on Friday at InfoWars. Alex Jones just happened to get wind of it. They ended up and slept there all through the weekend. There was a court hearing today. I don't have the outcome of that yet. But this is part of what I think, when they got the Trump indictment, I think that the bad guys are staking their life, that this is their flag in the sand for their takedown of America. And they want to get rid of any voices that would prevent Joe Biden from getting reelected. So they've got 4 more years to finish the damage that they've done to this country. Which part of that being, tens of millions of people have flooded across the border illegally, since Biden took office. There's just so many bad things that are going here that are destroying our country. All right, so let me see where I'm at here. I had a kind of a list going here. So I'm going to play a little clip. There's a lot of people that rushed to the aid of Alex Jones when they started trying to shut it down over the weekend. I'm just going to play a couple of little short clips from that. I'm not going to play all of it. But here is Steve Bannon.
He's a great pastor, great talk show host. Steve, you sent me a message. I appreciate you reaching out. Yeah, they tried to lock the building up last night. I literally confronted the security that's part of my company and said, the law says this, you have to have an order. They're trying to even shut it down tonight. And I see this all as the desperation of the deep state of what's going on. We're a solvent company. We have plenty of money. We're in a federal court separately, who the court appointed is trying to shut us down right now. Steve, you're a really smart guy. You're under a massive attack yourself. You don't make a big deal about it. But I mean, I just see this as an indicator that the enemy has launched the major assault. We're seeing it everywhere. The conviction of Trump, the show trial was their charge call. And I think you probably agree with me, but the people need to know this is it. It's going down right now.
I think Drew was 100% correct. I mean, look at the role you played in 2016. The deep state absolutely knows the power of InfoWars, the power of your team, the power of you personally as a personal example. So it doesn't surprise me at all. They just moved on President Trump, and, they're going to try to imprison President Trump. There's no, or at least put him under house arrest so he can't campaign. So now they're just going to knock down. I mean, to them, this is the last scene in Godfather 1. They're going to move on everybody. They're definitely, they if they don't shut down InfoWars, they don't shut you down, they're not going to win. And they know that. And they're playing Smash Mouth. And this is why you have the controlled opposition Republican Party that won't do anything about it. Look, Megyn Kelly, I thought, saw it best. We have to go Old Testament on this. We have to start throwing subpoenas out. We have to start arresting people, right? We have to do it. You obviously, you have to have charges, but we got the receipts. That's why the House right now, and Chip Roy, who's no radical, Chip Roy's calling for Southern governors to arrest Mayorkas and Biden. This is where we are right now. And obviously they're going to move on InfoWars. That's why you've got to protect, however you protect this operation, this franchise, and your ability to communicate is a high order, and we're all in for any assistance at War Room. And I know Jack Posobiec and Charlie Kirk, the people that know and admire you, got your back, and we need marching orders.
Well, brother, you're smart.
All right, so that's just a little bit of that from Steve Bannon, just kind of giving you his thoughts on what he thinks is going on. I'm going to play a little bit here from General Flynn. I'm going to tell you, if you have the opportunity to, you can go to Real Alex Jones on Twitter and look for this 4-hour show from Saturday. There's about 35 minutes here from General Flynn that I think the whole country needs to hear. I'm just going to play a little bit of it here, just to kind of whet your appetite about it. But, we are in some real danger right now as a country, and we need to be waking everybody up. This is the time where we need to stand up. If we care about freedom and we care about this country, now's the time. Anyway, here's a little bit of that from General Flynn.
Physically here, slept 3 hours last night in this building. I'm not putting on a big act here. General Flynn, what do you think's happening?
Yeah, so number one, Alex, God bless you for doing everything that you've been doing. I want everybody to understand is that we really have to stop thinking conventionally. I mean, these people, this is a communist takeover. The bigger strategic plan was 8 years of Obama, 8 years of Hillary. Donald Trump got in the way in 2016, and they started in earnest to take the country over then, and they made the decision, and they made it during the COVID lockdowns. They made that decision that this will never happen again, that there will not be another Donald Trump, in their way again to affect basically the takeover of the United States of America. This is America with communist characteristics, right? So just like they still do this in downtown Beijing. They have people wear billboards to shame them, to say how bad they've been to the state. This is exactly what they're doing to Trump. They're basically saying to Trump, they're trying to shame him and all of us into this submission that they are planning on doing. I mean, this is for real. You know, this judge could have actually kept him in jail that day. Okay, that he but that the jury came out with the 34 charges. I believe what they're going to do is they're just going to when he comes back on the 11th, they're going to put this Mershon guy is going to put him in jail. But Trump said in his comments the day after, I guess it was yesterday if I remember the days right. Trump actually said something I think is very important
No, you're
for all
right,
of us
General.
to understand.
It was yesterday. It was yesterday.
It was yesterday, yeah. Trump said something that was very important. He said a bunch of things, but he said something that was very important. He says, this is bigger than me. He has always said things to that effect. This is bigger than him. This is about the takeover of the United States of America by a fairly small group, but I don't think that the people on this call, or I don't think the American people understand that group is not as small as it used to be. That group used to be much smaller 20, 25 years ago. Now that group basically has control over the U.S. intelligence community. It has control over the U.S. Department of Defense. The United States Department of State has control over the White House. It has control over, I just call it the corporatocracy of America. Clearly, the educational institutions. I mean, these are communists. These are not like lefties or progressives wearing rainbow colors in their hair. These are hardcore Marxist communists. There are people with faces and names that are part of our government, and that's what's happening. And everybody needs to understand that. So, you know, I sit here and I was over the last 48 hours and Christ, the last 3 years, these people are going to do everything that they can to destroy this country. And they have done it. They've taken the steps. If you understand things like the Bolshevik Revolution, the red and the blacks in the 60s,
Well, General, let me just stop you. What you're saying is the former head of Defense Intelligence, and I'm seeing it with all my listeners, they are rolling out that they've launched, the war just started, like 150 something days out, they have just launched, the assault has begun, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, think about this, okay? And I've been doing this my whole life, where I have to put my feet into the shoes of our enemies, right? That's what my job was as an intelligence officer from the time that I was working in an infantry battalion on the battlefield. In that case, it was in Central America. So, you know, I've always had to put myself in the opposition's head. And that's what I rack my brain over constantly is if I was on their team, what would I be doing? What would I be thinking? What would be my strategy? What would be the tactics I would use? This latest thing with Trump, that is a tactic. It is a tactic. The bigger issue, and Trump nailed it. It is bigger than him. This is about taking over this country. So if I put my feet into the boots of our opposition, in this case, this progressive left in this country, which holds the levers of power right now, folks, whether we like it or not, they hold the levers of power. They are scheming to do whatever they can. And my belief, and this, I'm more than 50% now, based on what we just recently saw in another tactic that they just did, and they're going to do it again on the 11th of July. That the likelihood of us having an election on the 5th of November, I'm saying that it's unlikely, far more than 50% now, because of what they are planning on doing. There is no
and
way
General Flynn, former head of defense intelligence, totally. They're pre-programming massive right-wing terror attacks. I'm looking for false flags. They are totally signaling that. What's your take on that?
All right, so I'm going to cut it there because I don't want to just sit here and run, all the video from that. But I would urge you, if you had the opportunity, go look that up on Real Alex Jones. Everything that General Flynn said in that 30 minutes should be a warning shot to America. I mean, this is somebody that was, on behalf of the President of the United States, was over all of our intelligence services. Before that, he was head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. This is somebody that knows. He definitely knows what's going on. I'm going to play one more clip from Dr. Pete Chambers. I had one here from Roger Stone, but I don't want to keep doing these. But these guys had some really good points about what's going on in the country. That's why I'm playing some of these clips. I think they're really important. I also think along with that, and this is where I'm going to go after this, there is hope in America. And I'm going to tell you what I think it is, but let's listen a little bit to Dr. Pete Chambers. I think I think he definitely is going to lead into what I want to talk about here in a minute.
All right, Doc Chambers, you've been like a colonel in special operations. You're here right now.
Yep.
You're an amazing patriot, very well known as really one of the best operators out there and a medical doctor. And I really got to know you're a fellow Texan. You called me driving back into town last night. You said, hey, we're ready to help you. And I know you guys are experts in overthrowing governments. So, I'm so mind blown because I can usually sleep really good.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't slept for 2 days. I get up 5 minutes later. I can't sleep. 2 days I've been on the couch. They were going to shut this down Friday. We discovered it. They were shut down last night. We stopped them. So I'm going to call the police. You don't have an order. It shows desperation, even having a court order to do it. It was a CR appointed by the court outside the story doing it. I don't see that as me being that important, other than there's something big about to happen. I don't know if it's a Trump assassination. I don't know what it is. They want us off before this happens. And I think we're holding a timeline up. That's my gut with thousands of data points. And I've learned my gut, it's not a guess. It's your subconscious has all the data. It's making it. It isn't about us, folks. This is about something big. So Doc Chambers, 30 plus years, Green Beret, great patriot, hero for America, out there leading great events for America. What do you as an expert with your gestalt see in this analysis?
Well, first of all, Alex, this is the Alamo of free speech right now, today. You are at Ground Central. We are at Ground Central.
I didn't plan that. The guys had a clip ready. Look at that.
Alamo? Okay.
Yeah, literally, did you tell the crew that?
Negative.
They just threw up an Alamo clip when you just said that on.
That's how God works.
That's how God works.
That's how God works. We do talk about God, by the way, on the side. Like we're real about
That's who syncs us up. That's the real GPS.
That's right. That is the unity through the Holy Spirit. Through the 40,000-foot view of what we're looking at right now, if I was to overthrow a country, I would take out the lead speakers. I would take out the lead distributors of information to the public. That's what I would do. We can do it several ways. I can put a JDAM on top of something. I could blow it up. We're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. But with the deep state on their heels right now, the globalists on their heels right now, on their spurs, as we would say in Texas, they're on their spurs. And we've got to keep pushing. And you've pushed it so far that you've got an emergency stay, so to speak, tomorrow emergency hearing in Houston, correct?
Yeah, they're calling to shut the company down tomorrow in front of the judge.
And that was supposed to happen tonight. So I drove in. It was a 16-hour drive. Somebody said, and I was off the grid. And somebody said, Alex is he's on his spurs right now, but he's fighting. He's moving forward in the foxhole. So what we did, we came in. But when I look at everything that's happening, and we're talking about between the shot stuff, between the attack on food. You had Ted Nugent on here not too long ago.
It's a full move.
He and I were fighting people trying to kill the deer population in Texas 2 days ago up in Terrell, Texas. So they're moving really quickly on all lines of effort against you, the public, Americans, the Republic.
And real war is blowing up food and energy. For people that don't know, they're cutting it all off.
It's getting cut off. You've had Michael Yon on here. You talk about energy from the Nord Stream pipeline.
Classic military action.
Oh, this is multi-pronged. And so when you see that, the only thing that I can say is because nobody's at the top that's claiming it. So this is run by Satan. All right, you're gonna think I'm crazy.
It's clandestine.
This absolutely. This is.
But you made another point. They're not doing kinetic. This is unconventional.
Unconventional warfare. Absolutely.
Which you would normally pay off and control the stations of the country you're about to go into.
Operation Mockingbird, right? That is an actual thing. So when I can't do that, when I can't coerce you, when I can't leverage you, what was your lawsuit in the billions?
Yeah, which I never had any of that. Yeah.
Right. But it's so ridiculous.
It was to scare people.
Exactly. 34 misdemeanors that turn into felonies for Trump. Right? That's how ridiculous this is. This is what they're doing to you. This is ridiculous. So, as crazy as it sounds, when we in chaos. All right, here's a little rule of thumb in chaos. Green Berets, the masters of chaos. There's a book about it. Control the controllables. So what you do masterfully is you control the controllables. You take that 50-meter target, you take it down. You take down the 100-meter target.
I was about to say, it's God. It's not me. The only control I have is exposing this.
Correct. But God is...
My only power is the people.
Because you listen to the Holy Spirit, you know what to do next. That's called left of bang theory. That's before you hit the IED. That's what that is. That's what we pray for you. I have so many people right now hitting me up. Tell Alex Jones we pray for him. Tell Alex Jones there are pipe hitters driving here from Lubbock, Texas right now, Vietnam vets, MACV SOG guys that were in the bush in Vietnam who are driving here right now. That's how important this is to us Americans that have been there and stood a post until we were properly relieved. Well, we haven't taken off our uniform yet, and we still believe in the Constitution of the United States and took an oath to protect it. We didn't take an oath to a president.
All right. So Dr. Pete Chambers, definitely making the point there that, we are in a serious battle right now over free speech. They're going to try and clamp this down, get rid of any big voices, InfoWars. Once Elon Musk opened Twitter back up, and InfoWars got back on a few months ago, their audience has come back. And that just shows you the impact of social media. When all these conservative voices and outlets got shut down, right after January 6th, it had a massive impact, on that free flow of information. And I appreciate what Elon Musk has done, to open that up. And I tell you what, there is, I don't want to just get on here and, tell people it's bad. You got to, your country's in trouble. Yes, all those things are true. But I'm going to tell you that, and I'm going to show you some clips of people talking about it that feel the same way. I don't think God is done with this nation. This is a country with a Christian foundation. I don't think God's given up on us. This isn't like Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible where they couldn't find 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, one righteous man to save it. We've got, more than this half of this country, according to Gallup and Pew Research, 70%, identify as Christian. Maybe a lot of those people aren't going to church, but certainly they have that foundation that we grew up with here in America, of Christian morals. It's part of what made America great. It's the roadmap of the Pilgrims. But anyway, I want to share a clip here that was put out by John Boyd just in the last couple of days, and then a few more, and then we'll wrap it up tonight. So here's John Boyd.
Fear all around. Everybody's angry. What's going on with this planet? We're allowing this sick President Biden to give permission for all to steal, cheat, lie, kill, and no one is paying the ultimate price for this? We must stop these animals. We must stand up now and make a choice for righteousness, because this is a critical time. So this is what we must all do. We must vote for truths, trust, honor, safety, love, respect, and we must destroy these animals. My fellow Americans, I witnessed these crimes on social media, the news. I'm here to testify for truths and for honor. The man who has this country's best interest, Donald J. Trump, he's the only one who can save our country from destruction. We're losing loved ones every day from the criminals walking our streets. We must wake up and stop this crime. These false accusations that have been put upon Trump's life to try to destroy his chances of getting elected, these judges, they are the corruption of this society's morals. They are taking down our safety, allowing our streets to be full of horror, and they are consumed with deceit. My words are for all to hear, that the power of what once ruled the land of the free, the forefathers that fought with blood, sweat, and tears for the people, for their freedom, for the safety of their loved ones, is now destroyed by the left's greed, deception, power, and darkness. But now, with the power of God and all of us, let us bring back the glory of the People's Declaration. For that, my friends, is the greatest testimony of all, and it shall be again. And the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, will make America safe again. For he will fight, and he will win, because lies will die, and the truth shall prevail, and all will be wishing they saw the truth and didn't follow the herd of the unjust, corrupt mob, the swamp, the evil. And when the truth prevails, the glory of the notes of Benjamin Franklin will shine again. Much love to you.
So let me say this. I don't think what's going on right now is about Donald Trump. Now, I think a re-election of Joe Biden, that leaves the bad people in power, because we don't know who's really running things, but we know Joe Biden, is not in charge. He's obviously, losing quickly his mental and physical ability. But I think this is a battle of good and evil, and I think this is an attempt to completely wipe out once and for all, and get rid of America's light in the world. And make no mistake, if America's light goes out, folks, we're talking about probably 1,000 years of darkness. America has been the only thing standing in the gap. And I tell you what, a lot of people that came before us, starting with our revolution, against the British, they gave their life, they gave their blood, they pledged their lives, their fortunes and their sacred honor for us to have freedom. People died in world wars like World War I and II, so you and I have freedom. And we need to honor them by not being the generation that lets this country be overrun by communists and socialists. So this is not about Donald Trump. So people out there that think that that's what this is about, no, this is the epic battle for the soul of this country, and whether it stays as a constitutional republic that is a light to the world of Jesus Christ. And I really think that's what this is all about. And we've seen some really interesting things happen. There have been a lot of high profile people that have started talking about God, talking about Jesus. I don't have the clips up here, but I've been collecting them for a future show. I've been following what's going on with Russell Brand. If you follow him, big social influencer, got baptized recently, and has just been posting some extraordinary things, about his journey, his first month of being a Christian. And I applaud him for that. And I think we're starting to see that sort of a tide turning in America where people are again, seeking God. So I'm going to play a little clip about that from Tucker Carlson. And I don't know how many of you remember this, but about a year ago, a little over a year ago, when he was still on Fox, just out of the blue, he up and said, I don't think it's a bad idea that we need to be praying for our country. And, he had never said anything like that before. And he's been kind of letting something out about that over the last number of months, that he's been on somewhat of a journey. And so I'm going to play a little clip about it because he's talking about it here.
I don't have too many, great insights into things or prophetic feelings. I'm very conventional, but the one thing that I really felt strongly a couple of years ago was really strongly, I felt it overwhelmingly, like from outside me, was that there's some form of religious revival coming. I felt that really strongly. And I'm like an extremely secular person. Obviously, I say fuck every other word. I'm sorry that I do that. I shouldn't. I definitely grew up that way. So like for me to have that insight, but overwhelming. And I said it to a couple of friends of mine who were very secular, and they're like, what? But I felt it. And that has turned out, I think, to be true. And I have no idea where it's going. And I get a lot of people coming to my barn like every day, literally every day, and leaving me big stacks and stuff on the end times. And I think history ends. I think we all sort of sense history ends. But it's also really clear that we don't know when it ends. So I kind of resent that a little bit because it's like, what are you, God? Like, you know the future? We don't know the future. We can't know. We're not going to know the future. Okay. That's very clear. And I believe it. But we are clearly moving towards something big. Who doesn't feel that? Everybody feels it. And it is, the divide is spiritual. And I try to be mindful of my own sort of sectarian limitations. Like when you're one thing, you think everyone else should be that thing or whatever. And I really am a Christian, or attempting to be. But I think it's enough to say the people who know they're not God, who show reverence before a power bigger than themselves, like those people are on our side. That's how I personally feel. And I think you need to believe in Jesus. I think that, okay? But I am also willing to believe that as a functional matter, the people, I had an experience of this, is like, I'm sure will offend.
All right, so I'll cut it there, but it's been obvious to me that that people are on a journey, and that God is starting to come back. Um, you know, there is something going on in our country about that. It's very, very interesting to watch. Here's another really short comment that came out of Alex Jones over the weekend.
And God has given you gifts as well. And God wants to work through you, but you've got to willingly start letting God get in the driver's seat. And I'm telling myself that while I'm saying it, because I'm my own person and I'm rebellious and I'm bad and I get off God's directive. But I'm like a cruise missile that's got God's GPS, and God's telling me, hey, I need you to get your act completely square because I got orders for you, buddy. You signed up for this. This is dangerous. You better get your ass in gear. It's not like for a baby Christian, the Holy Spirit, where you cry and it feels so good. No, that's the beginning of it. Once you get into missions with God, it is loving, it is direct, and it's, you really want them to get your family? You really want them to kill billions of people? I know you don't want this to happen. Well, then you need to get your ass in gear. And that's why I'm telling you the stories, because this is all true on my soul.
So I believe that, and I'm telling you, we need to wake up 100 million Christian Americans. And I don't know how many of you, listening to this episode, watched the very first episode of the Zoo podcast. I showed you that every big media company, every internet company, all of the Fortune 500 companies, their three largest shareholders are BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. There is a monopoly of everything going on. Everything you buy, everything you see, everything you hear, it's all very controlled. All of the news out there that you're getting off of mainstream media is tightly controlled. And, I hate to say it for folks out there that, haven't woken up, but I'm talking about not just CNN and MSNBC and these news channels, but I'm also talking about Fox News and Newsmax and other outlets that ran from some of the most important stories in the last 3 years to this nation, including securing our right to vote. There is ample evidence, people like Mike Lindell that have spent $40 million to get to the bottom of what happened, in the 2020 election, and then get the word out, and then try and build tools and, build organizations and, get laws changed in all 3,000, counties nationwide. Our media just turned their back on this stuff. Shockingly, when that 2020 election fraud happened, the state of Texas sued the other swing states like Pennsylvania because them having election fraud, cancels out the vote of the people of Texas. And I'll never forget this. The Supreme Court turned down the case. And I don't know if you know this or not. You could get out a Constitution and look at it. The only place a state can sue another state is at the Supreme Court. And in that case, the Supreme Court is the court of original jurisdiction. In other words, that's where the initial arguments have to be presented. So when the Supreme Court refused to hear that case from Texas, they abdicated their responsibility. So what I'm telling you here is we are experiencing a failure at all levels. And it's going to take waking up 100 million of you out there to care enough to flood your state, local, and federal government that you want our nation to be following our laws and our Constitution, and stand up. And this is a 911 kind of call out to you. as they try and clamp you down over the next 140, 150 days heading into this election, you need to get louder and louder and louder and louder. And I'll tell you what, Glenn Beck made a brilliant, short little speech about this on his show the other day. And we're going to go to this last, and then we'll come back and wrap up. But I thought this was absolutely brilliant.
Yesterday, I asked myself something that Ben Franklin asked himself as they were writing the Declaration of Independence. And as they were going through what they went through, he sat in his chair after the Constitution, and he had been looking at John Hancock's chair, and it had a sun on it, half a sun. And he said, this whole time I have been sitting here thinking, wondering, praying, is that a setting sun or a rising sun? He deemed at the end it was a rising sun. I asked myself yesterday, is this a setting sun or a rising sun? Is this the day historians will write down as the end of America, where its people were still asleep and just didn't really recognize it? Or is it the beginning of a new chapter? We are, in our history and in our lives, faced with challenges that test our resolve all the time, push us to the limits. And it's in these moments where everything seems unwinnable, everything seems so steep, the odds are all against us. And those are the times you discover who you really are. Those are the times you forge your character. We as a nation, because we have been fat and lazy and we have had everything handed to us, don't really know who we are. You have to understand that every trial, every setback will make you stronger, will make you wiser, will make you more gentle. America, today is the day of choosing. Today is the day. It is now our turn to step up and save the republic. And the world, make no mistake, the world is watching. And I hope you feel the weight of that expectation. I hope you realize the sting of failure that will come if we don't step up. I thought a lot about Rudyard Kipling last night. I thought a lot of Teddy Roosevelt. If I may paraphrase his poem in The Man in the Arena, it is not the critic who counts, but the one who dares to step into the ring, to risk everything, who will fail over and over and over again, but continues to get up. Tired. Face marred with blood and mud. But he goes up again and again and again. It's really easy to quit. It is. It's easy to say, well, we have no chance. Easy to be knocked down. And as humiliating as it is to lie face down in the dirt, that's exactly what every bully wants you to do. That's why every bully, they command, stay down. Don't get up again. Stay down or I'll give you a bigger beating. But the man who inspires others to stand continues to get up, wobbly, barely able to fight, but he refuses to bend the knee, refuses to surrender to the bully. Failure is not the end. nor was this stain on American justice yesterday. It is simply a stepping stone to the path of greatness, a stepping stone to make America great again. That's not just a slogan for a campaign. That is true. We have lost our way. We have become an embarrassment for everything we say we stand for. Each fall teaches us resilience. Each setback strengthens our determination. Every time the bully knocks us down and says, stay down, every time we get up, there's someone in the crowd watching who then turns our way and sees the bully for who they really are. O Lord, hear the words of my mouth. Save our republic.
Pretty powerful words from Glenn Beck. I tell you what, it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us standing up together, waking up our fellow Americans. 100 million sheep. That's my goal. That's the goal of the Zoo podcast. Let's wake up 100 million sheep. It is the only way that we're going to save this republic. You know, others said it here in some of the video clips here tonight. We're at a time where you have to make a choice. And I choose freedom. I choose right. I choose goodness. I choose love, compassion. I choose the word of Jesus Christ. I choose the American Constitution. And I'm going to do everything in my power, folks, to make sure America's light stays in the world. And I don't know what the solutions are, but we will find them together. But I know at the very least, the main thing we have to do is wake up this country before it's too late. And, you know, you got some warning shots from some very important, smart people, you know, that we covered tonight. And we've had a lot of material things that have happened, you know, in the last few days. Just like today, Twitter's having trouble. People are getting censored. Their tweets are getting deleted. Man, I hope after all this time that we're now not going to have trouble, you know, because Twitter has been the only big platform, you know, without the censoring. So I don't know what the future is for all of it. I just know that we'll go through it together. We'll figure out how to wake up the 100 million sheep. And I want everybody in the sound of my voice to know that that is the mission. And we need to be demanding from our local, state, and federal governments that they follow the Constitution and that we're not going to accept anything less. So as we go forward here, we'll continue to cover, you know, what's going on. We'll have some great interviews like I did recently with a number of people, including General Flynn. But we're going to figure this out, folks. I believe in us. I believe in this country. I know there's enough good here for us to stand up and win this battle. All right, so I'm going to close tonight with a song. I was using it as a show intro, a little part of it. It's called "Let Freedom Ring Across America." I wrote this a few years ago, recorded it here at home. But anyway, here you go, and then we'll call it for tonight. And pretty soon here, maybe even starting tomorrow, I'm going to be going on at 9 p.m. Eastern Time for an hour every night. I'm Jeffrey Sisk. Thanks for joining us here on the Zoo Podcast, and we'll see you again really soon.
There was a time when we were strong, a price paid blood to right the wrongs, a shining city on a hill for all the earth to see, a bright star of hopes and dreams for the whole world. Red, white, and blue had been unfurled. They let freedom ring across America. They stood up from sea to shining sea, hand in hand, on and on. United they were proud, free and strong. They let freedom ring across America. When I was young, my daddy said to me, you have patriots' blood, a destiny. He said, when I'm dead and gone, freedom's torch passes on, and it's up to you to keep the fires burning. Oh, this precious gift is the light of the whole world. Let freedom ring across America. Let's stand up from sea to shining sea, hand in hand, on and on. 'Cause united we are proud and free and strong. Let freedom ring across America. Some say our best days are behind us, but I beg to disagree. But what happens now is up to you and me. Let freedom ring from sea to shining sea. Let freedom ring across America. Let's stand up from sea to shining sea, hand in hand, on and on. United we are proud, free and strong. Let freedom ring across America. Let freedom ring across